he got out of that cell pretty easily.
Yeah.
It was just like, a door ain't gonna stop me, honey.
Nope. No one keeps me from my mate.
And welcome back to another episode of Romance the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seff.
This week we are discussing another Immortals After Dark book. I hope you're not tired of hearing me say that because we have like 20 books to go through. Mm-hmm. So this week we read Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night by Kresley Cole. It is Bowen's book, which is going to be an interesting conversation, I feel like, because when we read A Hunger Like No Other, he was one of the characters that we talked about and asked, like, are you interested in this guy's book? And now we read his book. So
yeah, I'm excited to hear what your thoughts are.
So Seff, what is this book about?
All right. So this book starts off in the middle of the Talisman's High, which we come to know in book 3 with Sebastian and Katerin. So we finally get to see the whole, him wrecking the chances of so many immortals. I remember they talked about it in Sebastian's book. And, anyway, so we finally see what he did, and that was him locking them up in this creepy-ass cave. Mariketa being one of them, who he realizes, like, at the beginning of the book that he has, like, a sort of attraction to her. But he is very much, like, faithful to his mate and wanting to use the key, which is the prize, to turn back time to go save her. So that was the whole point for him, and he would do whatever it took to save his mate, go back in time, whatever. But then, he can't deny that he is attracted to Mariketa. But anyways, he locks her up with the other immortals, and because she hexed him, he's literally falling apart at the end. Well, not the end, at the beginning of this book, but the end of the last one. And he loses his chances of getting the key. And so then he literally is in the place where all immortals go to die. And he decides that he's going to end his life. But at that time, I believe Lachlan comes with Sebastian. And they save him. But then, obviously, because he's so injured and he's not healing because of the hex that Mariketa put on him, which was, he wouldn't heal from any of the injuries he gets. Anyways, so because of that, he literally was unconscious for I don't know how many days, but then he realizes the immortals never escaped. And so he's like, oh shit, I might have started a war with all the other factions, and he needs to go save them, and also Mariketa, before I think the full moon. And so he literally goes on this mission to go save them, and then he realizes Mariketa has been taken by how do you say it?
Incubino?
I have no idea. The sex demons, or the sex...
Yeah, they're the sex
those
demons.
ones.
But these demons are not sexy. They literally have been cursed to live in this cave for I don't know how many years, and they literally are like walking corpses. And all they want from Mariketa is for her to break the curse and let them die. And it's just like, I don't know, I kind of feel bad for them. I don't know if you guys did. I felt bad. But that just like has a serious emotional toll on Mariketa because she is literally, she's 23 years old. She has not become an immortal yet. And it's just a lot to take in. And she also was forced to drink blood by them. And it's like nasty, rotting, disgusting blood. I was literally disgusted.
Which we never really find out, like, what the hell is in that blood exactly.
Yeah, like, where... Is it, like...
Like, she just said it was, like, some blood, but we don't know if it's human. We don't know if it's, like, insects. I don't know. Like, it could literally be anything.
Ooh, what in case it's, like, a mashup of insects?
Right? Like, don't know, but... And like, why were they giving it to her? Like, I wonder, like, was it...
To keep her alive.
But why blood? She's not a vampire. Like, that's, like, she's a witch. Like, serve her a meal, sir. Like,
because they didn't have
she needs some food.
And they didn't want her to die.
I know, but I was just like, why? This is weird. Like, she's technically human. Like, we wouldn't survive on blood. But give me blood, I wouldn't survive off of it for weeks and weeks.
They're decaying corpses, so they don't know that.
So I'm thinking it's not blood. I'm thinking they're, like, shoving something else in there. Like, they couldn't... Come on, girls. Like... She couldn't just survive on that.
No, I think I remember her saying something like, amidst, like, the blood diet, they also gave her something else. I don't remember what it was. But, yeah, it just sounded disgusting. And I'm just kind of worried that it was their nasty-ass rotting blood.
It probably was.
Ew, I'm going to barf. Anyways, so she's afraid of heights, and the demons, the sex demons, whatever the heck their names are, decided to, like, take her high up into, like, the cave, and she's afraid of heights, so she's afraid of jumping. And also, I forgot to mention, this is where we meet Rydstrom, Cade.
Yes.
Yes. Who else?
The elves.
Oh, yes.
Fae or elves or whatever.
Yes.
Tyrion, I think it is.
Yeah.
Tyrion or something like
Do any of the elves / Fae, they're Fae in this book, right? It's not elves.
Yeah.
So do any of the Fae get books?
You know what?
Or
not yet.
Is it just side
not
characters?
that I remember.
Because they've been mentioned a lot, because Bowen's mate was Fae, and then they are Fae, and I just feel like the Fae are, like, weirdly, like, on the side, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, curious.
Because I feel like we're used to books where, like, the Fae are, like, the main immortal.
Yeah, we are.
So, like, I think it's interesting that, like, in this series, they're kind of not. But then I remember one of the books, the guy's a dark Fae.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I am intrigued.
Yeah. No.
I just want to find out about all the species. Like, whenever something new is mentioned, I'm like, oh, I wonder what your thing is, because they're all different, right? Like, we meet so many new species in this one. Like, we finally meet demons.
Yes.
We now know what they're like. We find out a little bit more about, like, their process as far as, like, finding a mate.
Yeah.
We find out a lot more about witches. I feel like before this book, we didn't know much about them at all.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that we find out about new things.
Yeah, and I think, Christy Cole does a really good job of, like, she doesn't info dump you in the first book, and, she, like, keeps information for later on in the series.
Well, she keeps it for when it's relevant, right?
Exactly.
Like, it was relevant in this book because we had a witch, and then because we had the demons that are starting. Like, you can see the demons are starting to be a bigger part of the plot, and I feel like that continues on, at least for the next book. Like, they're quite present in that one, too. Yeah.
So, I mean, I do like that she does that. But, yeah, anyways, continuing on. So what happens is Bowen comes.
I have a very bad habit of just cutting you off.
No, it's fine. I feel like we need to break up the synopsis. I feel like it gets long after a while. Anyway, I'm trying to, like, you know, make it concise. Anyways, so Bowen arrives, and he's literally missing a hand, and he's trying to move this rock, and then he hears screams, and then Mariketa literally, so as he pushes the rock, he sees Mariketa, like, literally rolling out of the cave entrance, and he just realizes, like, she's literally, like, so, like, she hasn't lost weight because they keep feeding her the blood, but she's just not the Mariketa that he's used to. He doesn't see, like, the feisty, like, alive Mariketa. She's very much, like, shell-shocked. Anyways, so, things happen. They finally escape. The cave is destroyed, and then, like, it's just more or less, like, Mariketa is very much broken in the sense where, like, she never thought that Bowen could leave someone like that, or leave, like, at least her there for so long. But then, what was it again? Oh, Bowen, because talking to Rydstrom, he thinks that Mariketa is actually his mate, Mariah, reincarnated. And, like, thus starts the romance with him trying to, you know, live a life with a witch who is someone he very much hates. But he's still thinking that that's his mate reincarnated.
Can I just say that I thought that was really well done in the sense that Cressy Cole wrote this part of the plot in a way that really kept me guessing the whole way through. Like, I always thought, oh, I think I figured it out.
Yeah.
And then I didn't. And then, like, she would throw something out there, and I was like, oh, okay, so I think now I have it. Like, I think I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
And then it was like, no, you don't. Like, I liked how she did that. Like, it wasn't overly twisty in the sense that it just goes so far out of the way that you're like, you just came up with that out of nowhere. There was no like lead up to it or whatever. Like it was like all the elements that she like essentially the big reveal was like you could all the elements for that were in the plot. Like you could reread the book and see it coming, but like I don't know, like I felt like it wasn't like a super shocker of a reveal, but it was still shocking enough that it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember starting this book the first time and really thinking that Mariketa was going to be Mariah reincarnated. And I was like, oh, okay.
And I kind of hated that. Like, I loved it, but I hated it at the same time.
The reincarnation?
Yeah,
the actual reveal?
No, the reincarnation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have been down with it. I would have been okay with reincarnation in this book. But I liked that she didn't go for it. Because of the whole, like, witchery, sorcery that was involved.
Yeah, I do like the overall, like, witch history and like their mythology and like everything that comes with them, because I'm not usually like a witch reader. Like I don't read books that include witches. Like it's for some reason I just don't really enjoy witch books.
Yeah, I don't like witches either.
Yeah, but Krusty Cole, the way she writes her witches, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can get behind this. And I end up like loving the witches. Like I think I love a lot of the witch books. I think there's only 2, so I love them both.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, like, I wouldn't say I like them as much as I like the Valkyries, but that's just because we spend more time with the Valkyries, probably. Can I just say that Reagan was like a star in this book? She was so funny.
She is.
I feel like Reagan is becoming like one of my favorite characters in the series.
She's so good. No, I think she's amazing. Okay, let's get down to it. Did you girls enjoy this book? Did you like it? Did you not like it? How'd you feel about it?
Go first.
Okay. So, I don't know if I probably mentioned it to you girls where I said that I really didn't care for Bowen.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't know about Mariketa. Like, I had no interest, whatever.
Yeah.
But I fucking loved this book. Like, I loved it. I did. I really did. And I was mad the whole way through, too. You know, because the whole situation with Bowen. And the amount of times that I said, what? When I was listening to the audiobook. There was, like, 2 or 3 times, I think, that I said what.
Oh, that's great.
During, like, the reveals. Like, towards the end.
Yeah. Did you see it coming or not? Were you kind of like me where it was like, oh.
No, I didn't. No. I really thought it was the whole reincarnation thing. Yeah.
Right?
And that's why I liked it. Like, it was, like, you know, I was interested, but then again, I hated it because I wanted him to like her for her.
Yeah.
And not because of the whole Mariah thing and all that.
And you didn't want to lose Mariketa as a character. I thought she was a great character.
She really was.
And I feel like you would have lost some of her fire, I think, if she was Mariah reincarnated.
But then again, yes, I agree with all of that. And I feel like in this book, reincarnation wouldn't have necessarily fit the plot. But I do think it would have made for a really interesting question of, like, if you are reincarnated, you're not necessarily reincarnated as the same person. Meaning, like, you could have a completely different personality, you know what I mean? I don't think that this is how she does reincarnation in the series, but it would be kind of interesting if, like, you're reincarnated in something completely different, someone completely different. Mm-hmm. And you could possibly hate a past self. Like, that'd be cool. Anyway.
Did you like it, Marge?
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
No, I liked it. I didn't like... It wasn't my favorite, but it was. I would definitely say it was my probably second to favorite so far in the series.
What's your first?
Warlord. Hello.
Sorry.
But I really freaking loved Bowen. Like he.
Yes.
Whew, that man.
He was a bastard, though.
Mm-hmm. And I really liked Mariketa.
I hated him so much, but I was like, I love him.
I feel like this book redeemed him in my head, in the sense that, like, just because we talked about this in the Hunger episode, like, one of the reasons why you and I didn't really connect with Bowen was because of how he was portrayed by the narrator. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like I didn't get any of that in this book. Like, now I have a completely different vision of him, obviously, and I feel like I can see the angstiness now.
Yeah, I feel like he was a completely different person.
And I thought that, what did you guys think of the demons? Oh, wait, Seff,
Oh.
what did you think upon your reread?
Okay, so I don't know what number of reread this is because this happens to be one of my favorites. I think it might be my third, might be my fourth, but at this point, who knows? You know? But yes, I do love the story. I love Bowen and I love Mariketa, and I just love the overall story. And yeah, I loved this book. And I think I loved it still, this 4th or 5th or 10th time around. I think it's still amazing.
So what do you guys think of the demons that we made in this book? Because we all know they get books, so... I'm
can't wait.
actually about to start Cade's book.
Oh.
I'm intrigued, like really, really intrigued. Yeah. To the point where I went into Goodreads to see.
I saw you added it. I was like, oh,
Yeah, I was like right away I added
she's
those.
jumping the gun.
Yeah, I added those two, but I haven't added, what is it, Conrad's book? I'll add it once I start it. I'm like, whatever about Conrad.
Oh my gosh. You were ready for these demons.
Oh, I have a question about the demons. Do they always have horns, or do they appear? That was like a little confusing to me, because if you look on the cover, they don't have horns. So
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're badly portrayed on the cover art, or...
I think they're badly portrayed. Because I took it as like the horns are like pretty much like in their head. Like they're just like, you know,
they go
resting on their
backwards
hair.
or forward.
I think, no. What happens is I think they're resting on their head. Like they're still pretty much like here. But then once they get like enraged or like feeling any type of way, they go, woo! Like they stick up.
What?
I thought they had like little nubs of like little horns, and then they just
Me
grew.
too. Well, I mean, I didn't think that they grew or moved or whatever. That's a little freaky, but I just thought it was like short horns.
Like, you know, other parts of the male body when they get, you know, excited.
I love that.
Yeah, because that's like, because I feel like it's pretty obvious, so at least so far, that that's like a way to arouse a demon male, is just like touch his horns or whatever. Like that's a really sexy place that you don't touch unless you want to get frisky.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
Which one are you more intrigued for, though? Rydstrom or Kate? Which one are you guys most excited to see?
I think Cade for now.
Yeah.
I'd say Cade for now, but I do have a note about Rydstrom. Rydstrom. I'm gonna have to figure out how to frickin' say his name
For his book episode? Yeah.
In the audiobook, I think he said Rydstrom.
And they're 7 feet tall.
Oh, yeah, they're tall.
They're massive. I do like that. But anyway, my note just says, Rydstrom is such a matchmaker in this book.
He
really
is.
is.
He is.
He's just like setting Mariketa and Bowen together. He goes to talk to Bowen. He's like, listen, the full moon is coming.
Yeah.
She's single. She's in the jungle. She needs a protector. Like, who's gonna do it? It has to be you, or else Kate is gonna like jump on the opportunity. And then he goes to see Mariketa, and there's like a similar speech. And then Bowen is like, well, shit. I mean, I have to make her mine now, right?
Yeah. I love that. I love their accents too.
They're very different. I like how he makes them very... Because I think Rydstrom sounds a little... I think he says South African is the accent that Rydstrom has.
No. I think Rydstrom was he's like the pure British. And Cade was like very like Cockney-esque.
Because it might have been in Conrad's book, but I do feel like one of the characters says something about a South African accent.
Oh.
When talking about Rydstrom. So, I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. In this book, he did sound just English.
I'm trying to remember. I think I only read Cade's book once, and I don't think I liked it as much as I thought I was going to like it. There's just some issues, I think. But I'm curious to see, because I felt like it's a running theme in my reread, that my opinions change a bit. So I'm curious to see how I feel about Cade's book the second time around now. Like a few years later, I wonder if it's going to change.
Let's talk about should we just jump into the night of the full moon? Like, should we just do that? Or not?
I feel like let's work our way up. Do you think?
I mean, what comes before?
I mean,
Except,
like
just them running away and
The banter. Let's talk about the banter that they have.
Oh, they have such good banter.
I feel like this one was way more funny. The fact that she was a witch and she was mortal.
Oh yeah, that was super interesting.
Yes. Marge's like, oh yeah, that was also important. But I just want to get to the full moon.
I said that was super interesting, not important,
Oh,
but yeah,
sorry.
it was pretty important to the plot. You're right.
This also brings it back to A Hunger Like No Other. Like, we said this, we hate comparing, but I think it's like the similar aspect where like Bowen was uber alpha. Like, he's still very much like an alpha. And like, but Mariketa, because like, I just feel like she was so feisty and like so sure of herself, she literally fought back all the time and not just like with her words. And like, she obviously had her magic to back her up, but like, she was very, like, she kept Bowen on his toes, whereas Emma at the beginning was very much like just taking what Lachlan gave her. So I feel like it was different in that sense, but Bowen was still very much alpha.
I love that she didn't give in. She just gave it right back.
She is so
And,
good.
okay, you guys don't want to talk about the full moon, but I'm gonna do it anyway because because I feel like that translated even into that scene where I got out of that scene what I wanted to get out of the scene in A Hunger Like No Other, in the sense that I wanted her to run away. I wanted her to not give in so easily, which Mariketa doesn't. Like, she runs away. She's like, hell no, I'm not giving into this. Like, he's a freaking monster.
Yeah.
Like, he's scary as fuck. I am not, like, not
But
tonight.
like, can we also take in
Yeah.
that this girl got captured by like drug lords and was about to, I don't even know what, but she was kept in a cell, and she's like, man, my Lycan's got me, okay? But I'm also scared of him. But yeah, that was pretty. I was like, what the heck? What's going on here?
I thought she was gonna like lock him up in the cell that she was in and just leave him there for the night, and like it was just gonna be like him howling at the moon from within his cell or whatever. But turns out he got out of that cell pretty easily.
Yeah.
It was just like, a door ain't gonna stop me, honey.
Nope. No one keeps me from my mate.
Yeah, no, I loved that scene. I really did. Like, she was, I don't know, like, just her running away, and then, like, she gets caught, and then she's thrown into a cell, and then she finds a Jeep or whatever, and then she's, like, driving away, and, like...
This man, Bowen, literally catches the Jeep and, like, is holding it with his two hands, and she's like, oh, shit, I am screwed. And then, like...
Literally.
I saw what you did there.
Thanks.
But yeah, oh gosh. Okay, let's get to where I think you were heading with this.
Which is?
When
Where
they
was
were
I
having
heading with
sex,
this?
and he doesn't say, he says Mariah.
Oh my god,
shit.
stop.
Oh, man. Yes,
I was so mad.
Oh, shit.
I thought that's where you were headed, Marge.
I had forgotten that. Oh my god, he does.
I remember my emotions reading that the
Oh my
first
God.
time. It scarred me. I literally had to put down my book, and
Yeah.
I was like, Bowen. Bowen.
That is the kind of, no, that's the kind of moment where, as a reader, you want to throw your book at a wall.
Yeah.
You're like, are you freaking kidding me? Did he just do that? That's a first for me in a romance novel. I've never read a romance novel before where the guy
Same.
calls the girl another name.
Yeah, I think this is the first for me too.
How did you
I was
feel?
like, Chrisley Cole, you are playing with fire here. This is a no-no.
I'm surprised she didn't burn him or like, I don't know, use her power against him. Like,
She did like rip all his clothes up and throw it like up on a tree or something. I don't remember. How did you feel as? I remember you messaging in our group chat
yeah.
going, I knew what scene you were at, and I was like, ugh.
That was one of the parts where I screamed, what? I think I even updated on Goodreads. What?
No, it's just crazy. Like, you know, like Bowen at that point was like that person that searches up on Google, oh shit, I just called my partner by my ex's name, what do I do?
You know, like those Reddit posts where
Yep.
it's like, me, male, 28,
Yes.
just called my female, 26, by another woman's name. Who's the asshole in the story?
that
was Bowen.
Yeah, that was Bowen. Oh gosh, Bowen. Speaking of ages, I love that she kept rubbing it in that like he was ancient. She's like, no, I'm only 23.
He was a relic.
And, like, she was really good. Like, she had me cracking up with, like, I forgot even, like, what, I think I saved one. But she was just funny.
Can we talk about Bowen finding Mariketa's, air quotes, lipstick?
What a jerk.
The lipstick that was not a lipstick.
I was just like, okay. And then he's like, would you rather I show this to everyone? I'm sad it didn't, like,
Come into play
in the story.
Yeah.
I wish the lipstick had made a comeback.
But he kind of destroyed it because he's like, I want to be
He
the
did.
only source of her pleasure.
Yeah, he did. In true
Alpha.
what are they called?
Like
No,
it.
in true Like style.
Ah.
They don't like competition, even if it's the
Battery powered.
battery operated ones.
But yeah, I feel like you really see their age in the sense where, like, he's very, 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 like strict and, like,
Old school.
old
Yeah.
school. And she's very, like, easygoing and, like, has her own, like, thought process. And I
Yeah.
just loved when she just, like, called him, I think, a relic. Or what did she call him, like, a museum? No. She said something like, how, aren't you supposed to be in a museum or something? Like, it was just so funny. I didn't
And then
save it.
later
I
on,
thought
she
I
called
did.
him a relic.
Yeah.
How old is she? How old
20
is she?
She's only
Because
23.
She's like a baby in this
Yeah.
world.
20.
She's only 23.
That's crazy and insane because he's like 1200 years old.
Yeah.
That is a problematic age gap if I ever saw one, but you know what I mean? I like him
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I have a note here, and this is a question I had.
Okay.
In A Hunger Like No Other, am I confusing Bowen with someone else when I think he was portrayed as a drunk or like someone who drinks a lot?
No, he was.
Was that him?
Yeah.
And then, because I thought that was weird because in this book, he's not like that at all. So I was like, is this like a weird, like, editing issue? Like,
No.
like a plot hole or whatever? Because
No.
he was,
Like, I took it as, like, in A Hunger Like No Other, he literally is drinking to numb his pain. I don't think immortals can suffer from, like, alcoholism or, like, things like that. Like, I think their body, like, automatically, like,
yeah, but why
metabolizes
wasn't he doing
alcohol.
this in this book?
because he
Because
had a
his focus
purpose.
was on the high, right?
Yeah, no, this book he had a purpose. He thought he was getting his mate back, so he's like, oh, I don't need a drink. I have, like, a goal in mind. I'm going to save my mate, and, you know, I'll be happy. But then once he found Mariketa, he's like, oh, I have a new purpose in life that doesn't, you know, involve alcohol. Like, he doesn't need to numb his pain
Yeah.
because he has
Okay,
Mariketa.
that makes sense.
That's how I took it.
So she kind of reminds me of Emma in the sense that she too has a lot on her shoulders at a very young age, in
Yeah.
the sense that Emma was being very sheltered by the Valkyries because of what she is and like who she like her parents and like her story and whatever. And I feel like I got a little bit of that with Mariketa too, because she was prophesized as being this super witch.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah.
like, because essentially, like, she's hidden away. She's wearing like a glamour, so
Yep.
that her physical appearance is different. Her scent is hidden because essentially the prophecy is that she will meet a male who will say that she's his mate and then lock her away or whatever, something like that. And so that's why, like, the witches have told her that she needs to hide who she is, because why exactly?
Because then she wouldn't be able to fulfill her
Destiny.
destiny. Okay, so I had a question about, you know, the male locking her away. Do you think it happened that early on in the book when he locked her up in the cave, like literally, or do you think it was when they were in the cabin closer to like the end part of the story where he locks her away in the sense where he tells her not to practice the mirror magic? Like, do you think it happened in this book?
I didn't think about that.
I think in the sense locking her away was just him kind of saying, stop doing magic, stop looking into the mirror and practicing. And
I
Right?
think I think
Yeah.
you might be right, because according to the prophecy, he would realize she's his mate before locking her away. Like, he locks her away because of that, and not before. So I feel like it makes more sense what S is saying of like, that was him when he really didn't like what she was doing with her magic and just telling her not to use it, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably what locking away meant. But he did do it, like, literally, you know, you're right.
He
Like,
did.
at the beginning of the book, that's kind of how their story begins, is he locked her away, and now he regrets it very much.
No, I felt like, I think it was more or less like the part where he's telling her not to practice that type of magic, and like that's essentially her giving up part of herself, and like that's obviously not something that she would ever do for anyone, let alone like a man. And I just feel like, yeah, I think that was, for me, I think that was when I was like, yeah, that's when he locked her away.
I love that she wouldn't give in, though. She's just like, nope, it's not going to happen.
I think I saved that quote because I felt like it was very, like, it really showed the type of character that she was and how strong she was in her belief that, you know, her magic isn't wrong.
Yeah.
It's very much a part of her, and she can't give it up. It's who she is. So I saved it. And then she basically tells him, you want me to give up magic, but it's a part of me that I can't deny. And then Bowen replies, no, you can rid yourself of it if you try. Practicing is a choice. And then she tells him, then sacrifice something dear for me. She said, a challenging tone. Like what? Like hunting. Never hunt and run the night again. You're mad. And then she's like, it's equivalent, because to her, you know, magic is what gives her joy. It's literally so engraved in her. Like, that is who she is.
It's instinctual for her.
Yeah.
Just like it is for him.
And then she also, like, he says, no, it's not. Hunting does not harm other people. And then she says, yet you assume I'm going to? I know Lycae are mistrustful of witches, but there must be more to this deep prejudice. You need to start talking. So that's when, like, I feel like she hit a wall, and he just wasn't fully sharing what happened. His hate for witches was, like, literally just, like, awful. And, like, it was making her, like, I don't know. I just, like, I didn't like him in that scene. I just felt like it was so hard to read about, because Mariketa practicing her magic was so, like, crucial to her.
Speaking of which, how did you feel about the whole buildup of what was behind the mirror? Did you think it was going to be something evil? Because turns out it really wasn't. Like, she just meets up with, like, her, I don't know, I don't remember who the woman was, but, like, her instructor or whatever.
Yeah.
And just, like, has a chat. And I remember sitting there, like, she should have gone earlier.
She should have.
All of this just for a little history lesson.
That was a little confusing, actually. Her instructor being the one behind the mirror.
Well, I think it's because essentially what she was seeing in the mirror was herself, like the evil version of herself, which I liked. I liked that there was, like, two sides of her. And then I think that the mirror is, like, a place that doesn't really exist. It's like a parallel universe, if you will.
It's her own dimension, because our girl's too powerful. That she
Yeah,
gets her own dimension.
Yeah, and essentially all the other witches or, like, friends and family can reach her in that place. It is kind of weird and a little bit, like, wacky in the sense that it's hard to understand how that would ever work. But yeah, no, it was a little bit confusing, but I feel like that's just what it is. It's just a different dimension, her own dimension.
And I think it was really interesting because, like, I don't know, I think it was more in the sense of, like, the mirror and what she saw in the mirror was freaky. And even Bowen was like, oh my gosh, that's, like, scaring the shit out of me. But I also think that's coming from, like, his dislike of magic and witches. But also with the idea of, like, the apple, which, like, I associate with as, like, the forbidden fruit. Like, it's something that, you know, you must never take, or else, you know, it's a grave sin or whatever. So, I mean, like, in the sense where, like, the apple did represent knowledge, and so it kind of was the forbidden fruit in the sense where she gets this knowledge and she doesn't know what to do with it. Like, she gets so much information that she's like, I need to know more and more and more. So in the sense, it's kind of a bad thing. But in the end, you realize it actually wasn't. Like, she was just, like, trying to figure out.
It actually wasn't. And I really liked how Cressley Cole did that, because you really think the whole way through that if she ever goes in the mirror, like, all hope is lost, like it's going to be a bad thing. And yet, when you think about it, she did say that apples were good for witches, like it's a sign of knowledge. Because you know, when you think apples, you when you think of like some evil witch offering you an apple, what do you think of? You think of Snow White and that ugly ass witch with her poisoned apple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's done really well in the sense that afterwards you're like, well, you know what? Kind of made sense. Like, she said so since, like, from the beginning that apples were not actually evil to them. Like, it was a good sign for a witch. So,
Yeah.
you know, I liked how throughout the whole book, I mean, I kind of said that already with, like, the whole plot twist at the end about, like, her identity. But I liked how there were many little plot threads like that Cressy Cole was like playing around with and making you guess what's going to happen here, what's going to happen here. I do feel like it's so far the book that played like that with the narrative the most. And I like that a lot.
That's good. I'm happy you did. I felt like, this book was more, like, the plot was very intricate compared to, like, the other ones. Like, there was a lot, as you said, a lot of plot threads that were coming to light, and like they were weaving in a story that was just very, very intricate and just very, like, you just don't know how it was going to play out until it played out.
Yeah. And I do feel like it was the most complex as far as like plot, but also, I mean, just like the thing with the war. I haven't like Google searched it, but I'm pretty sure that what she said about the war, the war that was going on in the what country were they in the beginning? Like the war that broke out and then they had to like run away because people were
the drug
like she but it wasn't that though. There was like an actual war going on. Like
was it Honduras? No, I don't remember.
I think it was.
I think it's Honduras.
Anyway, like I didn't search that, but I'd be ready to bet that that's an actual thing that like Cressy Cole decided to weave into this plot.
Yeah.
Like an actual thing that happened. Like I thought it was really interesting in the sense that there were many layers to this, and it definitely was much more complex and much more intricate than the other books so far.
I think for this one for sure, I felt like it was a lot more of like a deeper plot.
But I do think sorry, I just choked on my own spit.
Oh.
Side note. I saw a meme today that was like, you know when you choke on air? And then someone was like, ghost dicks.
What?
Because you're just like...
That is funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought so.
She's like, oh, I'm going to go around choking the air more often.
I mean, the ghosts deserve some love too, all right?
Right.
Yeah, they probably need some action. They haven't had some in like hundreds of years, you know.
Listen, well, we don't know what ghosts are doing right now, right? Like right here, right now.
Exactly.
You know, you could have like 2 ghosts behind you just having a blast.
What,
right?
like what are you doing over there? You don't know.
Anyway, why was I saying that?
You just choked on your water.
Because I don't think that the drug lords and the people having a war were the same people.
Oh.
I think it was 2 separate things.
Oh.
Happening at once. Though I could be wrong.
All I know is that this was like the first book that actually kind of had humans featured in it.
Oh yeah.
And I just thought it was really interesting the way she worked in the humans, and like you got to see that obviously humans like aren't always good. And they were literally fleeing from the humans, but also, you know, they had to get to a certain area before, you know, the full moon. Or else a war would start out. And we knew this because of Reagan throwing, I was dying. Reagan throwing the cars. And then she's like, wait, is this one Bowen's? And she's like throwing a car. And then it was was it Laughlin's? I think it was Laughlin's.
I think it was Emma's, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was funny.
I just freaking love Reagan. She's just so funny.
I think I even saved it. I just thought she was just hilarious.
How did you feel about the I guess you could say climax of the story, where Mariketa gets stuck in the mirror looking at her own reflection, like just entranced? I just thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen that before in a book. Or
No?
just be, well, I mean, no, I mean, I've never seen a mirror witch before.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was a first. But I thought that was a really interesting thing where it's like she literally cannot look at a mirror ever.
I mean, like, I think it's until, like, the power gets, like, locked away. But, like, I think that's also,
Yeah.
like, go further back in the sense where, when Mariah comes back, and, like, obviously we know it's not Mariah, but, like, no one else knows that it's not Mariah, and, like, Mariketa is...
I kind of knew, though. I
Yeah?
kind of, that one I saw coming. 'Cause
I was
like,
really mad.
This is not Mariah.
Because I kind of wanted it to be Mariah and for him to make that choice himself. I hate when the choice is taken away.
He made the choice. He
But there was
fucking made
no
the choice.
Yeah, he did.
There were no choices.
He did make the choice.
Him not going to Mariketa when she reached out her hand and he just like,
Yeah.
that was his choice. That was his fucking choice.
Well, yes, but no, because he didn't. He then chose Mariketa. He had a discussion with
but
her,
he hesitated.
with Mariah.
Yeah,
and
he
said,
did hesitate.
I'm sorry.
He hesitated.
Well, yeah,
That's a choice for me.
Give the man some credit, guys.
No.
He has like 2 ladies after him.
No, and he did say, hold on, I saved it because it broke my heart because Mariketa, like, I think we'll talk about it later, but, like, she has this fear of, like, not being enough. He hesitates and she pulls her hand back, and for me that was so heartbreaking because, like,
It was.
she had already fallen in love with him and she needed him to choose her because no one else did. At least, obviously, that's not what happened, but, whoa, that was a stutter.
You're still stuck on the knots, I think.
Yeah.
Who's not stuck on the knots?
There's an atrocious lack of knots in this series
Why
so far.
couldn't the Leica have knots?
Listen, they're inspired by dogs. It makes no sense, Grizzly Cole. Where are the knots?
Come on. Dogs have knots. Leica should have knots. Should they not?
They should. I mean, I've read a bunch of werewolves books where they had knots.
Yeah.
So, like, Cresley Cole could have made her Leica a little bit more naughty.
Yeah. Oh gosh. We can't be helped. Anyways, so what happened was, so after Bowen does not take her hand, he says, like, damn the witch for pressuring me like this. Because, like, obviously he's just, like, as you said, faced with 2 females, and he's like, shit, one is my mate that he thinks is his mate, and then the other is a woman he's fallen in love with. And, like, it's just, like, it's a tough situation to be in, but he did make his choice then, but then later on, as you said, I believe, that he did change his choice later on. And he did tell Mariah he'd set her up, she'd be fine, but he just can't live his life with her. But he did make it before he found out.
Not really, but it did.
He does choose her before knowing that she was actually her mate all along.
Yeah, I forgot.
That was important, I think.
Yeah.
For him to make that choice beforehand.
I agree.
But he does at first choose Mariah.
I agree, because like I said, I don't like when choice is being taken away, and I like that he chose Mariketa before realizing that Mariah was...
Hexa.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, anyway, so going into that, and then Mariketa battling Hexa, and she's literally, like, she was a goddess, but then she got turned into an immortal. She literally is the embodiment of evil. And, like, Mariketa, 23-year-old, not immortal, like, has to go fight this scary-ass witch, and, yeah, no. And I just loved when she realized the medallion that he's been wearing on his neck forever was, like, the enchantment. And, like, once he takes, like, when she burns it off, he, like, finally feels the full force of, like, the mating bond. And, it was so beautiful. Like,
well, the scene where Mariketa finds out about that necklace and finds out that it belonged to his mate.
Oh, yeah.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, before finding out that it was actually, like, a bad thing, well, when she thought he'd just been wearing that, and she was like, we had sex and you had that thing on.
I know.
I was like, girl, I get you.
Well, he also said Mariah's name in the throes of passion.
Bowen is a hot mess. Bowen is literally the embodiment of a hot mess.
Yeah. One thing, this kind of reminded me of Rowan.
Rowan in Throne of Glass?
Whoa, hello, Throne of Glass.
What?
So only the aspect of how Maeve kind of came up, from what I remember, she kind of made up with Lyra.
Oh yeah,
being
she
his
made
presumed
him
mate.
like
Yeah.
a false
To
mate.
think-
You're so right.
It reminded me of this.
Yeah.
How did
Right?
I not think of that? You're so
Okay.
right.
Click.
I know, that totally bypassed me too.
The Throne of Glass series by Saga Maas, everyone, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Read
that's-
There's plenty of great ships in that one.
Yeah, Rowan was broken after Lyra dying. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe I didn't make that connection
Me
because
too.
I am the number one Rowan and Aelin fan on Earth. Like, just
Fake fan? Fake fan.
hey, I'm not proud of myself. So thanks for that, S.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But I think it's so awful, like, that Haxa did it because she feeds on people's angst and pain.
Misery.
And she's like, all right, I know Bowen's going to feed me some good-ass angst, so I'm just going to do it. And then he literally fed her for
years.
hundreds of years.
Are we not Hexa though? Like, do we
Shut
not read
up.
these books because we feed off
up.
of people's angst?
I don't want to be compared to an evil immortal goddess, okay?
Well, I mean, she has a point.
She does. I love me some good angst.
It's what feeds my soul, literally. So I get her. Jeez.
I had a question, though. I don't know if you can help me answer it. But, I mean, like, I kind of answered it in my head just now. But the question I had was, now that Hexa is no longer an issue, like, in the sense where she's literally been obliterated and Mariketa has taken in her powers into herself. But, like, now there's no, balance. Like, we have, like, the good goddess was what, I forgot her name. I don't know. But then
I don't know.
Hecate was like the balance between like good and evil, and then Hexa was literally evil. So now there's no balance, right? So like, what happens?
Is this like your way of like trying to feel out if like we've noticed something that's gonna come back?
No. This is just like my like, because I tend to forget like the big, like the big plot. Like I just like I usually remember little cute scenes with like the main couple, but I just kind of like, I don't know. I just
Doesn't
I don't-
Mary-
The balance is off.
right.
But doesn't Mary kind of absorb that and kind of make it her own?
But now they're locking it away. So, like, I don't think it has... Like, I just think there's no balance anymore. But I think I remember her teacher telling her that because Hexa became, like, just immortal, like, she's not a goddess anymore, like, it didn't matter. Like, things were already changing. But, like, that still confuses me because, like, there always is a balance. And now there isn't a balance. Like, it's very unbalanced in the good side.
I'm still stuck on the fact that you said there's a dark fae at some point.
Oh, I love that book. It's so good. It's called Sweet Ruin. I believe it's like...
Okay, I've heard of that one. It's a lot of people's favorite. Yeah. It's a lot
No,
of
that
people's
one was
favorite.
so good. That one's also one of my favorites.
People
Love
always
it.
say either not Lochlane.
Lothair. Yeah.
Lothair or Sweet Ruin is like their favorite book in the series.
No, that book's really good. It was shocking. But,
I'm
yeah.
just excited to find out more about literally everyone.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. I'm really curious to see where she takes the series later on. Like, I feel like once, it gets further. I'm also excited to see what you guys think of other characters and, like, what you think of their books.
We shall see. I have a note here that says, during sex, Bowen can't stop looking at her eyes. And then afterwards, he just wants to hold her hand.
He wanted to hold her hand all the time.
During that first sex scene, I just loved how he kept mentioning that he just can't look away from her eyes. And she's like, he could look at my body, but he just wants to see me.
Yeah.
I just really like that. And then afterwards, he just wants to hold her hand. And that's like, just cuddly.
And then he yells at Mariah.
Dumbass.
I'm so bitter about that.
I know, it was pretty bad. But, like, I feel like at the time, maybe it was, like, the enchantment in the necklace making him remember that, Mariah is, quote-unquote, his mate, but really not.
I think you're giving him too much credit. He was just being a dumbass.
True.
I like how he says, I really fucked it up this time.
Yeah.
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 love
But he says that quite often. I remember him saying that when when he saw her, they had a big fight, and then he left her, and then he sees her talking to the mirror, and then he's like, you know what, I need to accept certain parts of her, but then he doesn't. Like, he's an asshole, and literally is just like, he starts back yelling at her and being like, you need to stop practicing magic. And like, I think he realizes later on, he's like, I actually need to practice what I preach and let her live her life.
Okay, so I have a question / discussion for you guys.
Sure.
Have you noticed 5 books into the series that Kresley Cole always skips over the honeymoon phase? She just mentions it and then moves on.
What do you mean?
And by honeymoon phase, I mean like the part of the book where the two characters are actually falling in love. They're doing all the things together. They're like happy for X amount of weeks, living together, and then the climax happened, and then the, trouble. How do you feel about that? And also, my question is mostly like, do you think that the honeymoon phase is actually necessary in romance, or do we just not care about them just being happy? A lot of people don't like when authors write novellas that take place after their book, because usually it's just happy fluff, and people don't like happy fluff. So how do you feel about that? Like, do you think it's necessary, or do you feel like it's okay just to be told on page that, oh, and they fell in love during that week, and you just don't really see it happen?
I don't know. I think it depends on the book.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of like, for example, of like a honeymoon phase that was skipped over in Mist and Nikolai's book. When she just mentions that they've been having sex all over the world, that was like their honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
And then there was one in this book, there was one in the next book. Every single book has had that so far.
Yeah.
A quick montage type thing where she just mentions what happened during those days and then like skips over. Kind of like in romance movies where it's like you just see a montage of what they've been doing together, and then by the end of that they're like, oh my god, I'm so in love with this person.
No, okay. So for me, for in this book, it was pretty, like, the montage did happen. It was when they were in that cabin, by the water.
Yeah.
So that was their montage scene. But I don't know, I feel like in Kresley Cole's books, I feel like I don't really need an in-depth honeymoon phase for some reason. I just feel like because this book is always like go, 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 and it's like full of angst, and then they reach like their happiness, their optimum happiness. But I feel like for Kresley Cole's books, they don't really reach their optimum happiness until the end of the story. Like, I just feel like there's always something holding them back to reach like that optimum happiness. Like in this book, it was literally him not wanting her to practice magic, and it did take a toll on their relationship. So like, I feel like the honeymoon phase was kind of not necessary to actually read about, because like, something that happened. Like, it's not their real honeymoon phase.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this is why Hexa kind of has a point. Like, we don't like reading about happy fluff very often.
Yeah.
Like, we prefer angst and pain and like tension and hate to love as opposed to just fluff. So I think it's interesting. Like, she's having a point, guys. She has a point.
But I also feel like, in a sense, it kind of slows the story down.
It does.
I do appreciate some good, happy moments, but I feel like it has to be in the overall plot. Like, it can't just be like good, like maybe like a good 3 chapters of them being happy, having the best sex, having like great conversations, going on dates, and like just enjoying each other's company. Like, I want to see that throughout the story with moments of angst and pain, but like, I want to see it as like a growth in their relationship, not just like a standstill of like 3 chapters of them being happy.
I agree with Seff. I feel like Kresley Cole offers enough for us to, to keep us interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I feel like her formula is very different in the sense where there's conflict up until the end. Mm-hmm. But like, it's good, and like she has a good balance of like good scenes and angsty scenes and bad scenes, hurtful scenes, all of it put together. She has a good balance. But I will admit, I do love a good epilogue scene. Like, a good epilogue where the honeymoon phase is pretty much the focus of it, and you get to see how happy their life was and like how many kids they had. Like, historical romances do it really good. But
then there's this new trend of having like 8 bajillion epilogues at the end of your book.
No.
I do not.
I just
like
need
that.
one.
Give me one epilogue.
Give me one.
I don't need to see what happens 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 25 years down the line. I'm just like, no, just give me like a year or two down the line and that's it. I don't need more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care after that. Sorry.
I read a book where they had, I think, I want to say maybe four, but I liked it in the sense because they started off young and they get to a point where they're like okay, but yet they still have struggles, so you see them a couple years older, what they're going through and how they overcome that, and then a couple years older until they're adults and they have their own kid, and they kind of see what they went through when they were young. They're starting to see that in their kid, so you kind of see how it kind of goes.
But my question is, like, is that needed as an epilogue? Could that not be part of the plot period before the epilogue?
Probably, yeah. But I mean, I read it and I don't know, I liked it. We got to see little snippets of their life throughout the years. So, I mean, I didn't mind it.
I feel like that would have made for a really long book if they were to include that in the overall story. So I think little snippets, like...
I mean, and she could have done the exact same thing as she did in the epilogue, just not called it an epilogue.
True.
Just chapter 28 or whatever.
True. That's true.
Like, I just don't understand the point.
Even if they're jumping years?
Yeah, why not? I've read books where you go from chapter 27 to 28 and it just says 4 years later. Like,
but towards the end, though?
Well, yeah. I've read a book where it just skipped 5 years, like 3 chapters before the end.
But then, Marge, can you argue that the epilogue now is no longer necessary?
Why?
Because, like, you keep skipping to, like, their happy moments in their life.
Well, because she said that the epilogues were like them still having struggles, and then seeing those things in their kids, and like I feel like that belongs in the book. 'Cause the epilogue to me is like perfect happiness, or not necessarily perfect happiness, but like the end period. Like you should end the epilogue and feel like you've ended the story.
That they've reached their absolute bliss.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Okay, now I have a question for you guys. So now that you've read, I guess, for you, S4, and then for you, March, 5 books, but let's pretend you didn't read the 5th book. How do you feel in terms of, like, so we've already read 2 Like-A books and 2 vampire books. How do you feel about the plot? Like, do you feel like they're similar to each other? Do you feel like they have, like, differences? Like, you can differentiate between the story and characters? Like, do you feel like she's recycling story points? Or do you feel like she's recycling anything? Like, how are you feeling in terms of, like, the differences and the similarities between the books?
I feel like they're all different. Different characters, different traits, different personalities, different plots, different... Like how the last book, it included the high? Mm-hmm. It was included in this book, but just for, like, 5 chapters?
Yeah.
Like, I felt like it wasn't the same. Like, it was a completely different... I saw the high as a completely different thing.
Exactly. Like, it was told in a different perspective. Like, it was different.
Yeah.
If we're only taking these 4 books into consideration, I would say that, yes, I do feel that they're all very different from each other. And, well, I mean, especially because so far we haven't really had a repeat as far as, like, characters, in the sense that, yeah, we've had, like, a Like-A and then another Like-A, but one of the Like-A's is with a witch and then the other one is with a vampire / Valkyrie. And then one of the vampires is with a Valkyrie and then the other vampire is... Wait, who's the... well, they're both with Valkyries, actually, but even them, like, they're different enough vampires that I didn't feel like it felt the same. So no, I would say that so far it feels pretty new and fresh every time you start a book. Like, you do get some things that are now familiar to you, which is great because she doesn't have to re-explain them, or when she mentions something, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that, or I know that, or whatever. And so that's fun because I do feel, by this point in the series, I do feel like I'm very... I don't want to say knowledgeable, because obviously I've only read like 4 or 5 books, but like I do feel settled in the story is what I'm trying to say. Like, I do feel like I've figured out what this world is and like how it works and who the characters are and stuff. And obviously now we know a lot more about side species that we haven't like necessarily fully met yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm with you for both of you. I'm with you guys in the sense where, like, the overall, like, plot is very much the same. You know, they find a mate, they overcome some issues, and, like, there are a lot of big issues that they have to overcome. And then at the end, they reach their, like, absolute happiness. So it's just, like, those aspects are pretty much similar, but, like, I felt the characters and, like, the pairings are very different from one another. And I also feel like their conflicts could be, I guess, looked at in the same lens, but at the same time, they're very much different and very personal for themselves. Okay, and I feel like this brings us to what or who is the monster of this story?
Bowen. Bastard. He's a monster.
For me, it was more like for Mariketa. Like, I feel like she had a lot of monsters to overcome, and that being her feeling like she wasn't enough. And, like, never feeling like she was ever the one that was chosen. Like, I feel like that's something that's so relatable in so many situations.
Oh, yeah.
But I also felt like that sabotaged her relationship with Bowen in the sense where, like, she didn't see anything worth fighting for because it looked like he had already chosen Mariah. So I feel like in that sense, that was her monster of, like, always being passed up and always being looked at as less. And even in his eyes, with his own prejudices, he looked at her as a lesser being because he hated witches. So I feel like that played a lot into her, you know, not feeling enough.
So one thing I really loved and appreciated about Mariketa in this book is that she never feared her darker self. It was never something she was scared of. At least I didn't get that impression. And I felt like that was a kind of a comeback to our Keturah and Lord Death episode, in which we talked about how women have this darker self that oftentimes we're told to, like, push away.
Yeah.
Whereas Keturah embraces it, and in this case, like, Mariketa is not afraid of it. And I just love it when women do that, when they fully are aware of the darker side of themselves. They embrace it, and I love that. And that is something that Bowen feared, but at the same time thought was really enticing. Like, it's just that it was, for her, we've had a lot of, in this series so far, we've had a few characters that feared who they were, and I feel like that was not the case with Mariketa at any point.
Like, in a sense, she also kind of, like, feared, I guess, people's opinion on her, because in the beginning of the book, she did say, like, she is Mariketa the Awaited, but she's like, awaited for what? She, like, literally didn't know what her purpose was, but people are already, like, commending her and saying that she's such a great witch when she's like, I haven't, like, unlocked any powers yet. I don't even know what I'm awaited for.
Yeah.
And, like, my own parents left me. Like, I just have, like, I'm nothing. But at the same time, she obviously, like, she builds her powers as the book progresses, but she also, she puts her foot down in the sense where, like, at the end, she's like, she doesn't know that obviously Bowen wants to be with her, but at that point, he really didn't know what he wanted. But I mean, like, and, like, I guess, was it the beginning or midpoint of the story, she literally asks Bowen if somehow, some way, a key comes about, would you use it to go save Mariah, thus eliminating me? And he's like, yeah, I would. And then...
Yeah.
And then Mariketa was like, bitch, no, then you don't get me at all. Like, I love that she put her foot down and was like, no, I'm going to fight for what I deserve because I deserve better. And she does, in a sense, when she doesn't fight for the relationship, when she thinks that Bowen chose Mariah and, like, her fears are coming back into play and she thinks that she's being passed over again and not being chosen again, she's like, in the sense, she's like, no, I deserve better. So that's what I think her monster is like the fear of being passed over.
Was there anything else?
Well, I think Bowen's hatred for witches was also...
Yeah. But I do feel like that's kind of that's a recurring theme in this series. So I don't want to talk about it too much because it's kind of like we start saying the same things that we've been saying since the beginning. Like, there's not much of a difference on that front.
I don't know. I just felt like for me, that was the one that stood out. Like, as soon as I read a certain point, I think it was... I don't remember when it was, but I think I read it and I was like, hey, let me write this down because I think this was the monster. Because it was, in a sense, stopping her from even, like, enjoying the memories that she had with her parents because she kept remembering, they gave me up. They didn't choose me. Yeah. So she couldn't even enjoy the happy moments. They didn't, exactly. They didn't. Haxa literally froze them.
Yeah.
And they loved her. They loved Mariketa and they wanted to be with her, but they couldn't physically be with her because of what Hexa did. And then obviously she realizes, oh wait, my parents did choose me. They did love me. But
that was another thing that I just didn't see coming.
yeah.
I really thought they had just abandoned her. But I mean, I kind of figured there was probably more to the story, but what actually happened, I had not guessed at all. For Bowen, I wonder if part of his monster might have been also the memory of what happened when he first lost his mate.
Yeah.
A certain, like, fear of what he is and what he turns into.
True.
Because this was definitely, like, a fear of his. Like, when he knew that the full moon was coming and that he was going to be stuck with Mariketa, like, he truly started fearing what might happen and was trying to do everything so that that wouldn't happen. You know, even like lock himself away or whatever. Like, he was just about ready to do anything.
Yeah, because he didn't want history to repeat itself, you know, with Mariketa.
And he kind of did, he did run away from himself because he gave her the choice.
Yeah, that's true.
And they both ran away in different directions, so.
I think it is pretty sad that when you can't accept that part of you, I just feel like, I mean, like, being a like is such a big part of him, and I feel like you kind of realize that with Sebastian's book as well. Like, when you can't accept what makes you you, you know, being a Lycae, being a vampire, is pretty sad because, yeah, Bowen had to accept that, you know, he's a Lycae, but he's also, you know, a great person. But, yeah, no, he feared what he could do to his mate, and that made him fear what he was. Did you have any other takes on what you think the monster can be, As?
His love for Mariah?
I wouldn't even say it's love, man. This man even said it. He felt guilt, but no matter how much guilt you feel, never, ever say another woman's name.
It makes me so mad.
But let's be real, guys.
There's no buts.
During the full moon.
Shut up, no.
And the last full moon, he was with his mate.
But they never had sex.
Died, and
yeah,
they didn't. But like he was stuck in the memory, guys. He was stuck in the
now
memory.
Who's playing, you know, devil's advocate, and
Devil's
now who's
advocate.
giving Bowen the benefit of the doubt?
No, Marge. Not today.
Yeah.
I just love how Mariketa, from the beginning till the end, she's just trying to find the best ways of just making, like, bothering
Irritating him, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love it because, like, you can tell Bowen hasn't experienced any sort of, like, pleasure, whether that be, like, a good laugh or just having fun in forever. And, like, he even says it, that he enjoys this. Like, he enjoys having fun with her. Because, like, she's so funny. I would love to be her friend.
Heck, she has friends like Reagan and stuff. I would totally want to hang out with them.
But I feel like that'd be so chaotic. Like, they even talked about, we have to talk about Caro as well. But, like, Caro, like, she literally couldn't do the Talisman's High because this girl was, like, in prison for streaking, like, in New Orleans.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it starts off with her, like, Mariketa saying, like, Caro was supposed to be with her, but she couldn't because she was streaking down the street in New Orleans, but she kept claiming that her wearing the beads doesn't count as nudity because she's wearing, like a necklace, like, you know the beads that you see in Mardi Gras? Like, she was wearing those, and, they're such a chaotic bunch.
Yeah. They really are. I feel like the witches and the Valkyries should just hang out together a little bit more.
I love it.
Yeah, there are equal amounts of chaoticness in both parties.
We have to rank them.
We're gonna need to come up with like an actual list because I'm gonna forget the
all
names
the
of
characters.
the characters.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start writing it down.
Okay, so it's Mari, Mist, Emma, and Katerin.
Oh.
Controversial.
Because I completely forgot about Katerin, so that just, like, she kind of, like...
Katerin and Sebastian, you forgot about them?
Okay, so for me it's Mariketa, Katerin, Mist, then Emma.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go Mist, obviously. That one is not even questionable. Mm-hmm. But I'm hesitating between Mariketa and Katerin as my second place. Can I, like, they're tied, all right?
Okay, fine.
Mariketa
and
Katerin are tied for me, and then Emma.
Okay. All right, males, let's go. S.
It would be Bowen's bitch ass. Then
I love that you hated on him so much in this episode,
I
and
hate
yet
him,
he's
but I
still your
love
number
him.
one.
yeah, so it would be Bowen, Black Lane, Nikolai, and then Sebastian. Yeah.
Oh my god, both Seff and I make the same face.
I'm a werewolf girl.
Yeah, I think we know this now.
Yeah.
Girl, just FYI, S was the girl that preferred werewolves in Twilight. So
Wait, were
For
you
like
Team
one
Jacob?
movie. For one movie.
she was
Yeah.
Team Jacob.
For one
What
movie.
the hell?
Which was what new movie?
Yeah.
I have an
For New
announcement
Moon.
to make to both Marge and S. I will no longer be part of this podcast. I cannot for creative differences.
Right.
And yeah.
We're kicking S to the curb for this.
It was for one movie.
Oh,
One
God.
movie.
Oh gosh.
Arch nemesis. Anyways,
right.
What about you?
Okay.
Seff?
So mine is Bowen, Nikolai, Sebastian, then Lockley.
Nikolai, Sebastian, Bowen. I feel like I would again say Sebastian and Bowen are tied for me.
Oh.
Clearly, I've enjoyed book 2 and 3 about the same, I would say. So yeah, again, Sebastian and Bowen are tied for me, and then Lockley.
Okay. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts on Conrad's book. I'm so...
Oh, I have thoughts.
That
I
means
have
not good
thoughts.
thoughts. Oh gosh.
I don't know.
She doesn't have good thoughts as Conrad's
so
book is one of my faves.
Well, all I'm going to say is I better like him.
This is so sad. Marge doesn't like Conrad. You're probably not gonna like him because he's a vampire.
No, you're making things up. I did not say that I didn't like Conrad.
But the way you're talking about it makes it seem like you didn't.
She's not saying anything though.
Exactly, and the way her tone of voice, I'm taking it as she didn't like it.
because
I think she
I don't
did.
know. I'm not gonna say. You're gonna have
think
to
he's gonna
wait
take
and see.
He's gonna take the second spot, I think. Next week.
Second, or you think he's gonna take top? He's. I won't spoil it.
Girl, I'm sorry. I can. Spoiler alert. He ain't beating Nikolai for me. Spoiler alert. I can
See,
confirm
she
that much.
hated it.
No.
I think he's gonna take the second spot.
Blink once if he takes the second spot.
Don't blink.
Anywho, this is it for this week. This is it for this week. Or what? No, this is it for this episode of Romance and the Monsters on Wicked Deeds. No,
Yeah.
yes, Wicked Deeds on the Winter's Night.
Oh gosh, we lost Marge.
And you can find us at the RTM Pod on Twitter or Romance and the Monsters Podcast on Instagram. You can find me at Foes and Lovers on both Twitter and Instagram.
You can find me on But This Book on Twitter and on Instagram.
And you can find me, Seff, on both Twitter and Instagram at Pros with Woes. There you go.
And that's it. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.